Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a genuinely wild one for you today. We're unpacking a truly dramatic cricketing rescue mission that just went down between India A and Sri Lanka A. It's honestly one of those classic sports narratives, the ultimate battle between sky-high youthful hype on one side and the quiet, steely resolve of seasoned experience on the other. We're going to cover the whole shebang, from an absolute early game disaster in Dambulla to a literal masterclass in batting resilience. Okay, let's dive into this. 16 for 2. Just let that sink in for a second. India A found themselves staring down the barrel of an absolute crisis mere minutes into the match. We're talking about the first 5 overs here. The top order was completely rattled. The momentum was entirely 100% with Sri Lanka A, and honestly, the pressure in that dressing room must have been suffocating. So you've got to ask yourself, how in the world does a team bounce back from a disastrous collapse like that? I mean, how do you survive when your top order just crumbles under heavy pressure, especially when you factor in the tricky weather conditions? There were these persistent, really strong winds sweeping across the Dambulla ground, plus a pitch that was offering some serious assistance to the fast bowlers. So it wasn't just a mental test, it was a severe technical examination. Which brings us to Section 1, the hype and early collapse. Pre-match, the entire narrative was defined by this sharp, undeniable contrast. On one side, you've got Vaibhav Suryavanshi. He's the 15-year-old sensation, right? Coming fresh off a blockbuster IPL season. The hype around this teenager is just astronomical. And then on the other side, you have Ruturaj Gaikwad. He's the seasoned domestic veteran, the disciplined anchor, the guy who knows exactly how to grind out an innings. The contrast literally couldn't be sharper. Explosive, raw, youthful energy versus composed, veteran pedigree. So the match starts. The 15-year-old prodigy, Suryavanshi, steps up and immediately shows flashes of that explosive brilliance we were all waiting for. He smacks 3 quick boundaries and looks incredibly dangerous. But then, in a moment of sheer impatience, he attempts a bunt over mid-off, and it lands right in the hands of a diving fielder, gone for just 14 runs. And almost instantly after that, Prabhsimran Singh is dismissed for 2 off this really sharp, awkward bouncer. Add in those persistent howling winds, and man, by over 5, India A was reeling at 16 for 2. The pre-match hype? Yeah, that had officially been deflated. All right, let's move into part 2, Gaikwad's masterful rescue mission. As the old saying goes, the situation demanded experience and composure, and Gaikwad delivered exactly that, stepping into the middle at 16 for 2, and honestly, soon finding his team at an even more precarious 69 for 3 after Priyansh Arya got run out in a terrible mix-up. Gaikwad knew instantly this was not the time for T20 explosiveness. The tricky pitch and high winds required a complete shift in mindset. He had to pivot to measured, defensive resilience. Basically, he had to absorb the pressure so his team wouldn't drown. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how breaking down this massive 150-run partnership reveals the perfect alliance. See, Gaikwad didn't do it alone. He found the ideal ally in his captain, Tilak Varma. The balance between them was absolutely crucial. While Gaikwad anchored the innings and slowly began to really dominate the bowlers, Varma played this incredibly steady supporting role, contributing 60 runs off 97 balls. Early on, they relied heavily on just singles and doubles. They flat out refused to take unnecessary risks. And just look at how methodically they rebuilt this thing. By over 5, we had the early collapse, but it took them all the way until over 25 to patiently regroup and cross the 100-run mark. It was so systematic. Then, right around over 40, they hit that massive 150-run partnership milestone, with Gaikwad shifting gears and finally launching a spinner over mid-wicket for a massive 6 just to reach his 50. Ultimately, by over 50, this solid concrete foundation allowed the team to post a highly competitive total of 277 for 6. But the absolute centerpiece of this entire rescue operation? 101. Ruturaj Gaikwad crafted a brilliant, gritty 101 runs off just 114 balls, striking 6 fours and 3 sixes. It was the ultimate display of absorbing pressure. When the entire team was completely on the back foot, he went out there and built an innings rooted entirely in temperament, experience, and incredibly smart shot selection. Which perfectly sets up part 3, a crucial late flourish. Because Gaikwad and Varma had done all the heavy lifting, tiring out the bowlers and stabilizing the run rate, the rest of the team was actually able to capitalize on it. We saw some super explosive late contributions. Ayush Badoni stepped up and smashed 24 off 18 balls. And then Suryan Shej hit a blistering 26 not out off just 14 balls. Together, they put up this rapid-fire 46-run stand that propelled India A comfortably past that 270-run mark. Let's transition into part 4, the rise of Ruturaj. And this brilliantly illustrates his pedigree, proving exactly why he was the perfect man for a crisis like this. I mean, we are talking about the current captain of the Chennai Super Kings franchise. He's an Asian Games gold medalist who actually captained the Indian team to victory. He possesses domestic power that is quite literally legendary. He is the first batter ever to hit 7 sixes in a single six-ball over during a Vijay Hazare Trophy quarterfinal. And speaking of that tournament, he holds the record for the most centuries in its entire history. His underlying statistics are nothing short of a List A masterclass. Listen to this. He averages over 59 in List A cricket. 59. That is elite-level consistency. And that 101 he scored in this match against Sri Lanka A, that was his 21st List A century. Oh, and he also happens to hold the record for the fastest century for Maharashtra, achieving it in a mind-blowing 57 balls against services. This is a guy who has truly, thoroughly mastered the 50-over format over the long term. Wrapping things up with part 5, experience anchors the team. Ultimately, it comes down to this. While raw talent generates the hype, it is sheer experience and temperament that wins the tough battles. Look, we all love the story of a 15-year-old prodigy. It's super exciting, it's great for the growth of the sport, and obviously it generates massive buzz. But when the winds are howling, the pitch is doing all sorts of nasty tricks, and your team is 16 for 2, it's the seasoned leadership of a player like Ruturaj Gaikwad that truly anchors a collapsing innings and secures a fighting total. So, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Based on the incredible resilience, the flawless statistics, and this absolute masterclass of a rescue mission we've just explored together, does this finally cement Gaikwad's permanent place at the top of India's senior ODI order? It's definitely a question the selectors are going to be pondering. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.